No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Hey everyone, this is Chris with Hacking Your Leadership. On today's discussion on employee engagement, we're going to be talking about another reason that employees decide that it's time to move on from an organization. The last couple of weeks, we've talked about some of these reasons, starting with that they don't feel like their company invests in them, and then followed up with that they don't feel happy and what that means to feel happy at your job. The next reason I want to talk about why employees tend to leave their organization is that they don't feel important. And when I talk about feeling important, you know, everybody wants to feel like the work that they're doing matters in the context of whatever the mission of the organization is. So, you know, they want to feel like they're making a difference, not just that their organization makes a difference, but that they make a difference in service of that broader mission or purpose. And if a person doesn't feel that way, I think they're a lot more likely to leave the organization. And data from employee engagement surveys and Gallup polls and Deloitte polls, they all say the same thing. It's one of the primary reasons people leave organizations is they don't feel important.
Yeah, I hear that, and I immediately think of like feeling valued, seen, heard. You know, like the things that matter on like kind of the local personal level. But to your point, I like the fact that you're kind of calling out like the idea of, you know, the importance of the job and of the role and of the impact that it has on the greater organization. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that there's personal value that you have around like how do you feel that you're being treated. And then there's also like professional value that you have around like, is my job really important? Is the thing that I do making a difference? Is it something that's being recognized? And I think that's such an important piece of the work if you're really talking about why people stay or on the flip side, why people leave. If they feel that their job is not important and that it can just be replaced by anybody else for any other reason, it's hard to have an intrinsic motivation to want to continue to invest your time and effort and passion into the role that you have.
Right. So I think if you're listening right now and you ever watched the TV show Lost, I did. It was like appointment viewing for my wife and I. We loved Lost. Don't get me started on how it ended, but you know, during the watching of the show, it was very good, and we were enthralled with it. We just loved it. And one of the plot lines is the guy sitting at the computer who has to type in the code and hit enter and push the button, you know, once every hour in order for the island to not blow up, or once every 12 hours, I forget how long it was, once every 8 hours in order for the island to not blow up. And that person made sure that no matter what they did to go find water or food, they were right back where they needed to be in order to type that code in to make sure that the island didn't blow up. And if you had to do something every day in order to make sure that, you know, people didn't die, or even more, that you didn't die, that would be you would feel like what you were doing was pretty significant, I would think. That'd be really easy to make that, that tie-in. But the moment, if you take that same person and you tell them, no, nothing would happen if you didn't do it. We just need you to do it. You know, how long would that person do that same thing? How long would that person type in that code and hit enter if they didn't feel like the outcome of it mattered at all, like that the action was significant? And you know, that's a very extreme example of it from a TV show, but this happens all the time in organizations where a person doesn't feel that the work they're being asked to do every day actually matters, that if they stopped doing it, it wouldn't matter. And this is really difficult to do in a lot of organizations because not everybody in every organization does work that impacts the world every single day. You have to be able to tie that in and make sure that if you're a leader of people, that you know that you can make sure your people feel like the work that they're doing is significant and that it matters, even when it may be a lot harder to do so, or even when the work they're being asked to do maybe doesn't matter, you know, in terms of the grand scheme of things. Maybe it is easily replaceable, but it doesn't mean it's not important. It doesn't mean they can't feel significant.
Yeah, no, it's a great call out. It's funny because I was thinking about the same thing. It's like, what if that guy was told like, hey, all right, you need to enter this code in by 5 o'clock every day.
Right.
Well, why? It doesn't matter why. You need to do it.
Don't ask questions.
Right? Don't ask questions.
Just do it.
Yeah. And it's just like, well, I guess, okay, fine. All right. Well, you know, I'm not feeling well today. You know, maybe I won't make it. You know, I got a little bit delayed. You know, like if you don't know, if you don't have a direct, correlation to the outcome like that, then it feels a lot less motivating. And I think to your point, when it comes to things like leadership and the impact that can have, you talked about feel and how do people feel about it, and how do we recognize it? Sometimes, like, yes, some of these things are, not the most exciting, or you don't have the pressure of the world on your shoulders. You're not worried about the island blowing up. But from a leadership standpoint, there's a way to make sure that people do feel important and they feel valued and they feel appreciated for the things that they do, as maybe as repetitive or basic as they might be. There is something that's happening as a result of their work. And, when we talk about vision and helping people to tie what they do to the greater vision, that's a big part of leadership.
Right. So I'm looking at things like, companies that have high ESG scores, environmental, social, and governance scores. And so this score obviously is very important if you are looking at how you are, a sustainable organization, a company that is governed well, an ethical organization. If a company ends up on this list of the top ESG scoring companies, it's not by accident. It means that they're actually taking steps that it's important to them to do these kinds of things. Now, whether or not they're doing it because they know people are more likely to buy from them because they're doing it, or the companies or employees are more likely to stay with them, that's less relevant. The fact that they're taking these steps is a good thing. If I look at the companies that are at the top of this list, some of them are Applied Materials, Woodward, Verisk Analytics. These are companies I don't think I've ever heard of them before I saw them on this list, and yet they're high on this list. Now, are there people who work for these organizations who aren't doing things every single day that would impact the company's ESG score every single day? Of course there are. But the leaders there are at some point have to tie in what they're doing to the importance of this in a way that leads them to believe that their work does matter in the context of this. Whatever they're doing to give back, whatever the organization is doing to leave the world a better place or to become sustainable, the sacrifices that the employees are asked to make in order to make sure that they are, working sustainably, whatever that looks like. For an employee to buy into that, they have to feel like the work they're being asked to do is significant enough to be worth whatever that effort or that sacrifice is. I want to go into some advice for leaders on what they can do to make sure this is happening in your own organizations. But first, I want to give a word from one of our sponsors. All right, if you're a leader of people and you're trying to make sure that your employees feel important and significant and like the work that they're doing makes a difference, you need to make sure that the tasks that they're being asked to do that might feel mundane or tedious or repetitive, and that it is harder to tie in to the broader mission or goal or purpose of the organization, that you do a good job of articulating that to those employees. If you're having a hard time doing that on your own, partner with your leaders and partner with your peers to figure out how they're doing it. But it's important that employees don't feel like a lot of the work they're being asked to do, or a significant part of the work they're being asked to do, doesn't tie in to the broader purpose or mission of the organization. It doesn't have to be 100%, but it needs to be enough of it to where they feel like they are engaged in the work every single day. If you look at these companies on the ESG lists, somebody still has to make sure that the plants get watered in the lobby. Like there are things that have to get done that individually may not seem like they matter or that they're significant in a moment, but together they do support the broader mission of the organization. And as a leader, it's your job to make sure that your employees understand how that happens in a way that resonates with them, and so they can come to work every day feeling significant. Otherwise, they're not going to have the level of engagement that you need out of them to do good work.
Yeah, I think it's so important to connect those dots a lot of times for teams around, here's the work that you're doing, and then kind of here's where that work goes, and then here's what that kind of work, allows to happen, or is a part of a larger piece of the puzzle that's needed to get us to the results that we have. Because, like, again, it's one thing to say, like, hey, we did this, everybody here, I want to thank every single person for this result. Like, that's one way to do it, right? And again, it might feel good when it's addressed that kind of like that largely, but really from a leadership standpoint, like having individuals know and feel appreciated for that work and for those things, and feel important and feel seen and feel valued, that leadership capability is so important, because again, many times the work itself can feel like I just don't know what happens after this, or I have an idea of what this does, but if I'm not getting recognized for the milestones that are happening, for the things that I am directly impacting, for the timeliness of the work that I do, for the quality of the work that I do, like those things matter so much in making people feel good and feel important in the job that they do.
Right. The last thing that I'll say about this is that sometimes it's enough to just say it. Sometimes it's enough to say thank you for this work that you did. You don't know how much this helps and is in service and of the purpose of the organization, but it does. These are the people that were impacted by it. These are the numbers that were moved because of it, and this is what we're able to do. These are the doors that are able to open because of the work that you're doing. A thank you can go a long way, and if you assume that it's not needed or that your employees are being able to tie these things together on their own without you, you're wrong. They're not able to. At least on a long-term basis. So you need to get out there and do that. It's part of your role as a leader. Make your employees feel significant, and they will come to work engaged. And with that, it brings us into this discussion on employee engagement. Please join us next week for another one. You have a great day.